We're live. We're good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to officially call this meeting to order. I would ask everyone to please rise for a moment of silent prayer and/or reflection as we continue to think about the conflict in the Ukraine. We are also thinking about our flood victims from a few days ago, and our auditor, we found out yesterday that his son had died of an illness. Please salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please note fire exits behind you and to my left, your right, out into the main hallway. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend any meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this act, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Milford have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Borough Hall, and notices have been sent to the record in the Ridgewood News. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services through the establishment and implementation of public policy that will safeguard the infrastructure, provide fair, honest, courteous, and professional services, establish a sense of trust and accomplishment between all residents, and through research and prudent planning, seek to minimize risk while improving our services. We are sensitive to the needs and satisfaction of our taxpayers, while realizing that this governing body cannot be all things to all people, within the revenue constraints imposed by state mandates, economic conditions, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. At this time, I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman Sanhusen. Present. Councilwoman Saraki Hurley.
Present.
Council President Duffy.
Here.
Councilman Grotzky.
Here.
Councilman Seymour.
Here.
Councilwoman Grant.
Here.
Mayor Petrino.
Here. So this is our first meeting back in person in about 2 years, so we're a little rusty, so patience and bear with us, and it is a special night tonight. Okay, so under unfinished business, may I have a motion for approval of the minutes for the March 28, 2022 closed and public session meetings?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor. Abstain.
Randy wasn't at the meeting.
And I think Thea as well. Yeah.
Okay. 2 abstentions.
Thank you.
Under new business, may I have a motion to approve Resolution 2022:114, appoint police officer Dennis Calcione?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any approved? Any opposed? Okay. Congratulations. Chief, take it from here.
Okay, welcome. Thanks for being here for the swearing in of our newest police officer, Dennis Calcione. Dennis comes to the Milford PD from the Seacoast Police Department, where he did over 2 years in the patrol division. Dennis grew up in Milford, attended New Milford schools, and was an excellent athlete, football, track, and basketball, one of our 1,000-point scorers in history. I think 1 of 2. Very Swanson the other. He went on to attend Iona College, where he received a bachelor's degree in communications, and again excelled on the Iona College football team. Dennis did great in our hiring process and passed the intense background investigation. We are excited to swear him in tonight to complete our department as our 38th officer, and I invite Dennis and his family up to the podium to be sworn in.
Who's going to pin it? Yep. Raise your right hand and stand on the back. I state your name.
I, Dennis Calcione,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the rules and regulations of the New Milford Police Department,
and the rules and regulations of the Milford Police Department,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same,
and to the government established
and the government established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
And I do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of the office of police officer,
all the duties of the office of police officer
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Go give him a kiss.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome to the family and be safe.
You shake your hand. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about baby.
We'll leave there.
I'd just like to publicly thank the mayor and council for the continuing support. By keeping us staffed at 38 officers, gives us the flexibility to have a proactive traffic division and an active community police division. So we find that stuff very important, and we thank you. Okay?
Okay, we will give everyone a minute who wants to leave, otherwise you can stay for the rest of our meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Good luck. You know the fisherman?
Yes. Now she wants to be here.
Okay, time in. Here we go. We have a couple of ordinances up for introduction tonight. So the first one is ordinance 2022:10. And when the clerk has the opportunity, I'd ask her to please read the ordinance.
Capital ordinance to appropriate the sum of $635,000 for the undertaking of the Graphic Boulevard Signalization Project in, by, and for the Borough of New Milford in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, and providing that such sum so appropriated shall be raised from a state grant and from the Capital Improvement Fund of the borough.
Okay, this is for the new traffic light we're going to get at Graphic Boulevard and Boulevard. We received a $570,000 grant from the Department of Transportation, and the balance, which is $65,000, we are going to use from our Capital Improvements Fund. May I get a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
So moved. Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman San Houston.
Yes.
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley.
Yes.
Council President Duffy.
Finally. Yes.
Councilman Grodzki.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Councilwoman Grant.
Okay, the public hearing on this ordinance will be at our April 25th meeting. The next introduction on the agenda is ordinance 2022:11, and when the clerk has the opportunity, I would ask her to please read the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 3 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of New Milford entitled Police Regulations, thereby amending Section 3-11 entitled Snow Removal.
This increases fines for parking on snow-covered roads until the snow stops and the streets have been plowed. May I get a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
Motion. Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Sandhusen. Councilwoman Siraki Hurley.
Yes.
Council President Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Grotzky.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Councilwoman Grant.
Yes.
The public hearing for this ordinance will also be at our April 25th meeting. Next is ordinance 2022:12, and when the clerk has the opportunity, I would ask you to please read the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 7 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of New Milford entitled Traffic, thereby amending Section 7-3 entitled Parking and Section 7-11 entitled Lane Use Reservations.
So this increases fines for general parking violations, for instance, where we have parking prohibited at all times on certain streets, parking prohibited during certain hours on certain streets, parking prohibited on certain hours for street cleaning and snow removal, and stopping or standing prohibited during certain hours on certain streets. May I get a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
Motion. Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Sandhusen. Councilwoman Siraki Hurley. Council President Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Grotzky.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Councilwoman Grant.
Yes.
April 25th will be the public hearing on this ordinance as well. Ordinance 2022:13.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 8 of the, Chapter 13, sorry about the Roman numerals, of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of New Milford entitled Fire Prevention, thereby amending Section 13-5 entitled Fire Zones.
This increases fines for parking in fire zones. May I get a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
Motion.
May I get a second?
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Sandhusen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siraki Hurley.
Yes.
Council President Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Grotzky.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Councilwoman Grant.
Yes.
The public hearing on this ordinance will be at our April 25th meeting. And you can see the theme here tonight. Our police department reviewed all of the fines from all the towns around us. It turns out New Milford was actually the lowest, so we were just raising it so we could be on par with everyone else. And no one thinks it's a deal to do a traffic violation in New Milford. Okay, item number 1 is Poncho's Burritos, Cinco de Mayo. Administrator.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We received an application from Poncho's Burritos for a special extension of premise for their liquor license for May 5th for Cinco de Mayo. I discussed it with Mr. Kelly, and I think I'm going to hand over the discussion so he can fill us in on the status of where we stand with outdoor dining in general and how it differs from what they're asking for right now.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the issue of outdoor dining has been a bit of a moving target from the perspective of understanding what the rules and regulations are. What happened was at the beginning of last year, our outdoor dining permit was preempted by state legislation that permits outdoor dining through the lifting of canceled restrictions on indoor dining or November 30th, 2022, whichever is later. There's currently legislation being discussed. I don't know if it's been introduced yet to even extend that or to somehow memorialize outdoor dining. Outdoor dining is still permitted. We still have the procedure of going forward with our permits that have been duly issued and applied for on an annualized basis. The reason they're done annually is one of the requirements of our application is to have insurance documentation that's satisfactory to the risk manager, and policies go from year to year, so we just want to make sure they're in place. Currently, with regard to this particular restaurant, they have an outdoor dining permit, and that's still valid and in effect. They may have to renew the permit just to update the insurance information. But they were approved, I believe, forgive me, I'm not used to having paperwork in front of me. The initial approval, so I want to say 2021, we went through with it, yeah, April 2021. So that was after the state legislation under our new ordinance. They're permitted pursuant to a configuration that's depicted on the application which I've provided to the members of the governing body, and it was in your packet. In addition, this particular restaurant has outdoor dining in the front. They were granted an approval by the zoning board for tables in front. And one of the issues that has come up is the issue of tents, that's why I'm saying this is a moving target, because the COVID-19 emergency resulted in a lot of different legislation or action by different agencies, one of which was the Department of Community Affairs that issued a moratorium on the expiration of, or the requirement of permits for tents. Under DCA regulations, you need to have a application made if your tent is over a certain size and is up for more than 180 days. Those tents all went up during COVID to allow outdoor dining in the tent, subject to certain regulations. And what happened in January was the DCA lifted the moratorium on requiring the permit to be converted into a formal land use application. Once it goes beyond the 180-day period, if it's going to remain, it's deemed to be a structure, and you have to apply to the proper land use agency to get an approval for that. So our building code official, in compliance with the statute or the administrative code regulations, notified the borough, and we notified all tent holders that you have to either come in and apply for a land use application or take the tent. So the tents went down. Subsequent to that, the DCA issued somewhat conflicting regulations indicating that they were trying to be consistent with the statute that allows outdoor dining and extending it through November 30th of 2022. After going back and forth with the DCA, it's my opinion that if they want to apply for a tent, to have a tent up, they're entitled to do so under both DCA regs and the statute, subject to the 180-day requirement. So the tents have all come down, but the DCA has made it clear they intended tents to be allowed. So that being said, this restaurant, if they want a tent, is free to reapply in the ordinary course, as are the others. Now, what's a little confusing with regards, yes.
If they have a tent that's under a certain size, they don't actually have.
Well, that's correct. I said at a certain size.
Okay.
So there is a threshold. I think it's 900 square feet or.
So they could actually put the tent up without.
Well, after a certain size, there's a fire inspection that's
Right.
required and a building inspection that's required. So if someone wanted to put up a smaller tent that wouldn't require that, they could do it, subject
Right.
to whatever the regs are. But all the tents that have been up have been over the size where the threshold for inspection occurs. And it's as simple as they apply to Alan Silverman, and he just goes out and looks at it, make sure it's secure, and then goes out. Now, with regard to this particular restaurant, they already have an existing extension of their licensed premises into the parking lot due to the fact that they have the outdoor dining, COVID-19 outdoor dining permit. And they're approved, they have a special ruling from the ABC, which was part of the legislation that allows it to be extended through November 30th. So they are now seeking, in addition to that, a number of other issues which are really outside of the COVID-19 outdoor dining. In addition, there's a question in my mind, I don't have an answer to it, as to the interplay of local zoning regarding things like parking and other issues and the outdoor dining permits. But as of right now, they have one, and they can go forward with that, pending further review of other issues. But that being said, they're now seeking for the special event to, as I understand it, have the tent. They want the DJ booth, which you'll recall during COVID, one of the restrictions that this governing body came to in terms of allowing outdoor dining was there's no music or, quite frankly, noise being played outside. And that has not changed. So that would be outside the scope of the permit and not permissible. In addition, my understanding is they are seeking to go beyond the time limit for the outdoor dining, which outdoor dining has to cease at 10 o'clock, which is consistent with our ordinance regarding this issue. And it's also consistent with the terms of the permit. So that also would not only be violative of our ordinance regarding noise, but it would violate the outdoor dining permit. So I don't think we can circumvent the law with regard to that issue. I think they wanted to go to 11 or 11:30. I just don't have the application.
I think they said they were going to stop serving food at 11 and then have everybody out by 11:59.
So those two issues are really outside the scope of it. Then they're also seeking to apparently have what's indicated to be a service area, but I don't know if that's an outdoor bar or if that is for the purpose of staging food. They can serve alcohol outside, but the question as to whether there can be a bar outside is something that is outside the scope of the permit and was not depicted on the permit that was granted in 2021. So I think they're limited to the 2021 permit. Anything beyond that would, quite frankly, be violative of it. In addition, they're apparently seeking to put two porta sands outside, which, there's a residence right next to that premise, and that's in the side yard. So I would refer that to Vince for a ruling, but I'm fairly confident that's not something that we would permit under the circumstances. Now, it's interesting, they've applied to ABC for this special permit, and I think we need to clarify with ABC what exactly is different than what they already have. And I think it's just the outdoor bar. I would look for direction from the governing body as to how you want to proceed with regard to that, and then Chris and I can follow up with ABC if this is something that the borough's willing to entertain or not willing to entertain. But right now, they don't have the authority to do that. That hasn't been approved on the permit. Other than that, if they want to put their tent back up, they can do that. If they want to have their Cinco de Mayo celebration within the bounds of our ordinance, they can do that. There's something here about a number of security guards, estimated it's like 16 security guards. I can't imagine why they're doing that, and they'll need that. But that said, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. If the business owner wants to hire more security than they've had in the past, that's fine. But they can have outdoor dining right now. I don't see them any different than, quite frankly, them having during Cinco de Mayo. But our ordinance is clear in terms of enabling the outdoor dining. There's no DJ, there's no music permit. And that's been enforced across the board. So that's where this is at this point. I guess if the council has any question or any discussion, I just need some direction.
So from the perspective of the ABC, the decision is, do we want to extend what they're doing with their outdoor dining by allowing them to have an outdoor bar?
Correct.
And then the other part of it is, for this particular event, which this does not relate to the ABC permit, whether or not we want to make an exception for any of the other things that are beyond what their outdoor dining permit provides for, whether it's the DJ, the porta-johns, the time, etc. So.
And the time will only be restricted to outside, because indoor, they will be allowed.
Yes.
That's correct. They can continue to operate indoors, but the whole reasoning back at the height of COVID when we started this was wanted to have quiet hours just to be consistent with our ordinance.
Right. And this is a Thursday night.
Correct.
I have a couple questions. What do you want to say?
I have a question. You referred to the permit you received in 2021. Is that a permit that could be renewed or revised, or is a new one required?
They are renewed. We've only had it 1 year, so this is the first renewal period. But other restaurants have applied and have been renewed. And the whole concept of it is we want to make sure everything's current, mainly the insurance. So we would expect that to happen. And I think it was submitted April 21. So there's still been time.
But the new permit, the old
No, the old permit would run April 21st. Standing.
April 21st.
So by what time would they be required to provide insurance information?
Well, I suppose we didn't have a time limit on it, and I suppose they could do it up until the 21st. I wouldn't recommend that because we have to get it to our risk manager to review, but I'm assuming it would be nearer to what was provided last year. If there's any deviation, Mr. Cogley would pick up on it. So I don't think it's that difficult to do. They could probably do it fairly close to the 21st, but to have it issued, it's got to get into Vince so Vince can review it because it's our zoning officer
Would
that.
that come to community council? Answer that.
No, we're not. The zoning officer has the authority to authorize it. So the statute put it in the hands of the zoning official, actually.
But if the insurance isn't provided on time,
Well, then they don't get the permit.
Kevin, I have a question about the 16 security guards. I remember a couple of years back, we were talking about the security guards being licensed. Do we have that in place? Is that in place?
We don't, but that was, when that was happening, they were seeking permission to have outdoor dining when it was not permitted. And it was beyond the scope of what they had previously approved for. So it was a little bit of a different situation. Quite frankly, if they're running their restaurant and they want to have security in there for whatever reason, I think they're free to do that so long as they don't exceed their occupancy loads or anything like that. I don't know why they're thinking they need it other than they expect a big crowd, which they're free to have so long as their occupancy is met. And then the question is inside and out, and I don't have an answer for this evening, unfortunately, but they're already approved. And the question is, if their occupancy is exceeded, which is one of the things we contemplated, not in our ordinance, but in the emergency declaration, that you couldn't have more than you're permitted to ordinarily. The legislature does not seem to be as concerned about that because they're trying to give restaurants a shot in the arm to keep them going after going through COVID for the last 2 years. But if the governing body was of the mind to alter your permit to limit it, we would need to pass a resolution to say if you wanted to say you're limited to your indoor capacity outside. But that said, we may be preempted, and I don't really have a clear answer to that because this, as we're all familiar with, this continues to be an evolving situation.
Yeah, I was under the impression that you can't have more tables outside than you do have inside.
That was our intention, but if you read the
That was
information,
at the outset, that's how it started, but it evolved and changed.
it did, and the DCA has given mixed responses, is the best I can say. It's unclear at best. But in reading some of the thought process of the legislature with regard to this, the intent was to try to keep the restaurants surviving. So at this point, my position legally is they're approved for what they have already. It's still a valid binding permit, even though it was, the capacity is increased. Effectively, it is increased until we change something which we may be preempted on, and I need further research on it. But they have the right to do it as a matter of the statute, which sunsets November 30th.
Question. Mr. Kelly, under the conditions of the permit now,
Yes.
does the permit allow for bathrooms outside?
No.
Does it allow for a bar outside?
No.
And
The
a
floor
DJ,
plan for it was,
of loud music outside?
no, that's absolutely not permitted. As a matter of fact,
Okay.
it states here to have no outdoor music. Under the floor plan that they're approved for, they show their inside and they show the outside, and the tent is 75% of the parking lot. They have a 60-foot setback. They have the depiction of where the garbage cans were to be, and there's a staff area in the rear, which I think was, and having seen it, I think it's where they were doing the bussing of the tables and that sort of thing. And that's what's approved. And as for the tent layout plan,
17 tables.
17 tables,
68 people.
some of 4 and some of 2, with 68 people. And they already reviewed it.
That was the 2021 plan.
Yeah, that's what's currently in effect.
The newer plan, the tent is actually 10 feet. You can see it's 70 by 30 instead of 60 by 30.
So it's 10 feet larger.
10 feet larger. So they would need a permit for the tent. Right?
They already need a permit for the tent from the perspective of they have to register. They're entitled to have it for the 180 days. If it goes beyond that, then they have to make a land use application because it becomes a structure.
Right.
So it's a larger tent. It's not consistent, quite frankly, with what is already approved.
No, because I can see that last year they actually put in every table 6 feet apart. They don't show you the pictures of the table.
No.
And there's no obligation.
There's no obligation either, but that's why this one's nice and neat.
Yeah.
6 foot, 6 foot, 6 foot.
Well, that's what is approved. That's what they can have at this point up until the 21st. If they don't renew, they can go back and do a guideline. I'm assuming they're going to renew it. But what was reviewed by the risk manager and the zoning official was to allow them to have those tables.
I'm also concerned about parking. That the configuration of Exhibit B, the use of the parking lot, where do the cars go now?
Exhibit B of the original application or what they're proposing?
What they're proposing?
There would be no cars in the parking lot during that event, I'm assuming.
Right. But the point is where,
They're gonna be on the street. That's where they're gonna be. But it's a Thursday night, and there's a restriction on Prospect. There's no parking from 6 to 11. 6 to 10.
what's the restriction on Main Street? Is that just during the day?
There's no restriction on Main Street. It's 2-hour parking. Yeah, no time restriction, I mean. Meaning, it doesn't cut off at a certain time. We always encourage them to go to the American Legion parking lot. There's a municipal lot down the hill that, for some reason, is too far to walk to, but it's always open.
So we're looking for guidance on whether or not you want to agree to the extension of premise for the outdoor bar for the day, and whether or not you want to allow any of the other things permitted, that are not permitted under the outdoor dining permit.
Take it one at a time, I guess.
Well, the first thing, and I think this is easy, is the hours of operation.
Yeah.
I don't think you can just unilaterally suspend your law. It's an ordinance that's in place, and regardless of the outdoor dining, it would be violated even if this was 2018 and we were just approving this for one special event. You would have to shut down when the current ordinance requires it, which is 10 o'clock. So
10 o'clock for outside is going to be in the motion I'm going to ask for.
You want a motion for that?
Well, we're going to do it all at once,
Okay.
but that's in there. 10 o'clock outside is cut off. Now, what about the bar outside?
No.
Porta potties outside.
No.
What else am I missing? Oh.
And music.
Oh, DJ outside, I'm sorry.
We're taking an informal.
Yes, because we're going to have to... you guys-
Make a motion.
We're going to have to make a motion, unless you want to do each one individually. I would
So the
suggest you do it at
Okay.
one time.
do it at one time.
Yeah.
So we need someone to make a motion with,
Well,
The other thing is the DJ, which again,
yeah.
that's, you haven't reached that, I don't know, in the government.
I
I
mean,
have a question with regard to that. They're allowed the music inside, but they cannot stream it outside, correct?
They're not supposed to, no.
Even if it doesn't violate the noise ordinance?
There's not supposed to be any music outside.
that's part of the outdoor dining permit.
Okay.
There was an issue with regard to that
There was.
during
Right.
COVID, and I think Vince went and spoke to them.
I have another question. We're not going to go with the porta potties. I'd like to know how many stalls are in the bathrooms.
How many
I've been in the
bathrooms?
women's room, but
I think there's one, I think they're individual.
Yeah.
One of each.
there's a men's room and a ladies' room.
I have another question. What's the capacity for the inside of the restaurant?
That's a good question, and there's, I believe, 130. But the question then is, how was that calculated? Because we believe it was,
I thought it was the 20 at the bar.
that's what it was, is the bar space, because there's additional spots that Alan is, when you're talking about capacity, it's capacity from a fire code perspective. And Alan looked at it, we were led to believe in discussions, not by the applicant, but just the conventional wisdom of various borough employees, was it was around 100. But that didn't factor in bar space and high top tables that were there, so I think it was 120. Is that right?
I think so, and then there was like 10 out.
And then there's a question as to outside, and Alan had gone out one day and counted the tables and said it's 30. Counted the seats at the tables outside pre-COVID and said it was 30. But that is not what the
Zoning
Board of
approved.
Adjustment authorized. So it's not 30. And Alan doesn't have the authority to unilaterally say you're getting more. So I believe they were approved for 5 2-seated tables, which is 10. So that would be the total.
Gin at the bar, you suppose, and at the bar?
And at the bar?
No, 20 at the bar, they
At the
said,
bar and then,
outdoors,
Yeah,
normally.
It's 120, I believe, inside
front.
full. And then during nice weather, the zoning board gave them the approval for the 10 spots outside. But candidly, don't hold me to that. It could be more or less by a couple because I don't have the resolution in front of me. It might actually have been 20 now I'm thinking about it, because there's, I think, 4 tables of 4, and maybe they gave me 5, because it was kind of a odd shape.
I think it's just 10 outdoors. I don't know the exact,
And again,
I
that's
think it's 5.
pre-COVID, not with
Yeah.
any of the outdoor dining that's happened in the last 2 years.
Okay,
That's just from the zoning board.
I'd like to make a motion as to what we had just said. No bar outside, shut down at normal hours at 10. What else? DJ only inside, no noise being.
Well, there's no DJ permitted outside. Inside, the law is
Yeah.
the law. I would caution you to say only inside.
You have no bar outside, no DJ outside, no bathrooms outside,
Okay.
and no music. We already established that.
No bathrooms outside.
I have a clarification.
Do you miss anything?
No music outside, or no music outside?
No music
No music
outside
outside.
is permitted.
That's what the
permit.
permits were. I think we got it.
Could you repeat that?
Okay, no DJ outside, okay, no bar outside, no bathrooms outside, shut down at normal hours at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Outside,
Yeah.
10 p.m., sorry. I believe that covered most of it.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, so that gives us guidance. I'll let the applicant's attorney know that if they're in governing body, we'll have to reach out to the agency about the issue.
Just as a little footnote, I was curious about why there was a mention of the DPW in the application.
They wanted to hire them for.
But for what? It says same work as before.
I mean, they put up barriers, but we did that as a matter of course. There were barriers on, I think, Prospect to keep it so that there was,
Yeah, I think that was, didn't the police request that?
I think the police did, but DPW didn't.
Was that before the parking restriction? I think that was before everything. The police requested that we put barricades on so people wouldn't go down certain streets.
Yeah, I think it was 17, the last one that was held, and then 18, it was 18 maybe, the last one was held, because then 19, we didn't approve it at all, because of problems with it. But I think the issue was keeping people out of the street, and that was provided as basically a service to protect.
People walking on the street, yeah.
But the way that this is written,
I'm not aware that they ever hired anybody from the DPW.
that's.
No, I don't think so either.
Isn't it?
I know, I see, yeah.
Yeah,
I guess they're saying we'll pay the DPW whatever they did in the past.
Yeah. Well, again, that was a courtesy, and it's being done for the purpose of protecting the public, so there would be no need to do that.
Thank you.
Anything else on the Poncho's application? No? Okay. We're gonna move on to schedule updates. Okay, some upcoming events in New Milford. So on Saturday, April 23rd, New Milford Softball and New Milford Little League are having a joint opening day. It's sponsored by New Milford Recreation and New Milford Little League. The parade will start at 10 a.m. It starts at Ascension School and it proceeds to Kennedy Field behind the Borough Hall. And the ceremony should start about 15 minutes, 10:15.
You can start at the Athenian School.
Isn't that what I said?
No, you said Ascension.
I'm sorry, Havanian.
Okay.
Marching in the wrong direction, sorry. Havanian School. Sunday, April 24th is the Holland Ave entrance cleanup, sponsored by the Milford Beautification Committee. That is at 10 a.m. And it's on the corner of Holland and River Edge Ave. And I believe you have a rain date of Sunday, May 1st. Correct. Yes. Saturday, April 30th is Healthy Kids Day and the ribbon cutting for the YMCA of Greater Bergen County. The Healthy Kids Day is going to be from 12 to 3 p.m. The ribbon cutting from the mayor and council will be at 1 p.m. This is located in the Ascension School area, the Old French Academy.
What time is the event?
12 to 3 is the total event. 1 o'clock is the ribbon cutting. I have no idea if there's a rain date.
Okay.
Saturday, April 30th, same day, there's also a food truck festival at the Milford Swim Club. We'll be in their parking lot from 12 to 6 p.m. So you can check us out cutting the ribbon and then go grab some food truck. And on Saturday, July 12th, will be our 100th anniversary in Milford Day. Sponsored by July 2nd.
You said 12.
July 2nd. 4th of July weekend, July 2nd. I know, because I added that one later. The program, we think it's going to be around 3 to 9 p.m., 9 o'clock with the fireworks shooting off. It'll be behind the Borough Hall. The entire area behind the Borough Hall will be closed. We actually have the company that's going to meet with us, and we're going to figure out the schematics of it. But basically, it'll be everything down here from the swim club towards Hardcastle Pond. And then on May 30th, Memorial Day, we'll have a Memorial Day parade. The parade will kick off from the Senior Center, as usual. We will march to the Borough Hall. The parade starts at 9 a.m., and then the services will follow. We're hoping it's going to be a very big parade this year, being it's our 100th anniversary, so we got some extra cool things going into it.
Didn't you start doing the services earlier at one point?
Then we do it right after the parade. We stop. Right. That's all I have for upcoming events. Does anyone else have anything? Okay, we're going to move on to the administrative report.
Thank you, Mayor. The Finance Committee is meeting for our second quarter finance meeting tomorrow. In advance of the adoption of our budget, which is scheduled for April 25th, and there will be a public hearing on the 25th for the municipal budget for 2022, prior to the adoption. Also on tonight's agenda, we have a resolution authorizing the application for a Bergen County open space grant for lighting at the Prospect Park basketball courts, and there will be a public hearing for that application also on April 25th. Borough Hall will be closed this Friday, April 15th, in observance of Good Friday, and our next meeting of the Mayor and Council is 2 weeks from tonight on April 25th. That's it for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Resolutions. Has everyone looked at the resolutions? Are there any that need to be
Mr.
pulled
Mayor?
further?
I'd like to make a motion to add a resolution.
Okay.
225. In the past, we've approved this resolution. Basically, what it states is all the people who have been affected by the flood, as far as getting new equipment and permits from the borough, we should waive the fees, except for the fees that are not ours, like the state or something like that. I have a copy of the resolution. I think everybody else has a copy of the resolution, but I'd like to add it to tonight's agenda.
Okay. Make it a second.
I have a question. So the fees that we waive, is there a way that we can recoup those fees?
No.
Can we build seawalls for them? I think we should.
I don't think they will pay it.
Frankly, build it. Okay, second.
Go ahead. You have a question about it? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's the 2022:225 has just been added to our resolution list. Now, are there any that need to be pulled for further discussion?
It's there.
It's already on there.
It's, 2022.
Yes, I'd like to do the 463.
223? Okay. Okay, let's go around, can't say go around the squares. Let's go around the table real quick before we open to the public. Councilwoman St. Louis.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a statement from the Environmental Commission Chair, but before that, I'm going to read something about the, share some dates about the bag event. Ban the bag event. So everyone's aware of the bag ban coming into effect. There's the Environmental Commission has planned some distribution of flyers to ShopRite and businesses. They'll be doing that between April 10th and April 22nd. They're also going to have information available to the public at the library and local banks. Earth Day, on April 22nd, there will be an event kickoff with ShopRite, and they will be continuing to educate the public from April 30th through May 1st and May 4th. I'm sorry, I'm not used to. I missed my headset. Let's see, and they will be also, the Environmental Commission will also be present at opening day for baseball and softball at 10 a.m. and the May 7th opening night. So we look around, there will be plenty of information on the handing out.
What is May 7th?
That's the change. The Knights Field building has been changed to June 12th.
June 12th. Thank you.
More details to come.
So their plan is to hand out informational flyers, answer questions, and also hand out specific Milford designed bags that are multiple use. The bag design is very nice, and we're ready for those to come in. Thank you very much. So, and moving on, so this is a statement from Lynn Torby, who's the chairwoman for the Milford Environmental and Energy Commission. And she is sorry she couldn't be here today. She's traveling, so she's not here to be. Dear Mayor Petrino and members of the council, in light of the flood that recently impacted many of our residents on April 8, 2022, the Environmental and Energy Commission would like to advocate again for the creation of an environmental resource inventory and priority project on Milford. This inventory will include crucial hydrologic and geologic data that will inform solutions to stormwater management and flood mitigation that can lessen the devastating impact on the residents. Considering that climate change will unfortunately lead to more flooding events, the Milford Environmental and Energy Commission believes that the sooner that necessary data can be collected, the sooner plans can be made to mitigate the effects of flooding on the With the support of the Mayor and Council, the Environmental and Energy Commission has already applied for a $20,000 grant funded by PSNG in New Jersey, and are currently awaiting news of grant status, which will be announced later this month. The new Milford Environmental and Energy Commission is committed to working with the Mayor and Council and the citizens of New Milford to find solutions to end these devastating flooding problems. Thank you very much on behalf of the Environmental and Energy Commissioners. Sincerely, Lynn Torpy, Chairman of the Milford Environmental. Thank you. And I'm just going to add a little statement after that, our solutions with accurate and current data would be really beneficial, and we need a lot of support from the county and the state to ensure, and the TDP, as county executive also mentioned this morning at the press conference, the citizen friendly and the legal for environmental commission is committed to funding as well. And that's my report for today.
Thank you. Councilwoman Siraki.
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor said, in May, we kind of follow up. We have the parade, our first one in so that's kind of exciting just to be out and able to see everyone again. We also started up, Signal Street kind of got a little waylaid. We're looking for new members, and we're always looking for new members. So that has started, and our next meeting is, I believe it's always the fourth Tuesday of the month, so if anyone is interested, one of the events we'll have to bring awareness to Signal Free will probably be our yoga, hopefully on the front lawn of the Borough Hall, like we did the first year. What else? That's about it for now. Things have been quiet. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Duffy.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much to our first responders, our police, fire, OEM, and of course our DPW for all they did during that terrible night with the flood. And our heart goes out to the community members that are cleaning up yet again. So I just want to say we're thinking of you. We thank you for all you do, and for those that were affected, we're going to try to help the situation. My report, I thought it would be interesting for just something like the old days. Well, the New Milford Fire Department had 21 calls this month of March, totaling 283.5 hours. Some of the highlights were 2 mutual aid calls, and 1 smoke condition, power lines down, 2 vehicle fires, and also an alarm malfunction. So not only are they going into water and boats, they're doing the everyday stuff. So thank you to NMFD. Also from the health department, again, just going back to the old days where you can really hear what they've been doing. The health department for the month of March took in $13,053. Out of that, the borough keeps $12,213. And most of it was marriage licenses, death certificates, dog licenses, cat licenses, and food licenses. So that's your health department in action this month of March. Also, we had an incredible opening to our 100th anniversary year. The mayor wants to, talk more about it, but it was quite successful. We opened the time capsule from 25 years ago, and it was pretty exciting to see what was in it. And we were lucky to have a few raindrops, not the onslaught of pouring rain. So it was a nice day, learning more about our history in that way with the community was really a good day. So that's my report.
May I just add to Councilman?
Sure.
We also had a pineapple upside down cake, which was a big cake at the time for 1922. We had food over at the time. I just wanted to bring that up because we drove all the way to Rockland County together. And not one piece was left.
That's true.
Yeah. It was a nice It was fun.
It was a busy meeting.
It was fun.
And the items from the time capsule are on display at the public library.
Yes, for the year. Councilman Grotzky.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to express, as Council President Duffy said, to all our first responders, they did a great job. As far as any other reporting, I have nothing at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Seymour.
Thank you, Mayor. I just, again, would echo Council President Duffy's remarks. We couldn't be prouder of all of our first responders. We have fantastic firefighters, fantastic police officers, DPW, Office of Emergency Management. And it really is a privilege to live in a community with such great departments who will, and volunteers who will put their own lives at risk to try to help our residents in our community. So I thank all of them. And I also thank all of our residents. It's really a great honor to live in such a town where we're a family. And the residents who are affected by our storms, who come together, who help each other, who care, and display tremendous courage. Thank you. And as Council President Duffy indicated, we're going to do everything we can to help. As far as reports, as the Mayor indicated, there's going to be the joint opening day for softball and Little League. We are, of course, Mayor, invited to those festivities. And the Milford Municipal Alliance is finalizing plans for a few events in May. Once those flyers are finalized, I'll have to put the details in.
Great. Councilwoman Brent.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
The library realized it had overlooked one item when it opened the sculpture garden back in September, and these old drawings back. We put outside in the back of the building to commemorate the events. That's on April 2nd, the Board of Education honored longtime teacher and Board of Education member for the Sapphire, naming the tennis courts after her. It was well attended event and happened the sun was shining. This morning I attended a press conference held by County Executive Jim Tedesco, and I'm hoping the Mayor will comment on that. The Mayor spoke the Council President of River Edge and Louisville spoke as well. But the County Executive was incredibly forceful and very thorough, and he actually is finally angry enough to address the problem because this flood kept happening. We were not notified in time and did nothing about it, and actually discovered the flooding by accident. So the video of the press conference is on Facebook, and I encourage all of you to watch it and listen to it because he has some good plans and some good ideas. And I know that our mayor will be following through with them, as will our District 38 representatives, and hopefully our congressman perhaps, and happy. So we are on it, and hopefully we can, although we can eliminate all of this, the flooding, there are some that certainly can be prevented or mitigated. So I hope you'll address that a little further, Mayor, in your remarks.
What's that?
I hope you'll address that a little further in your remarks. Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? No? Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to report on the COVID numbers. January, our total was 1,037. February went down to 88. March was 72. And so far through April, we're at 45. That's as of today. I got the numbers right before the meeting. Okay, so let's talk about, did anyone see the press conference today? Whether on TV or live streamed or, okay. It's on the Office of the Mayor Facebook page. Over the weekend, I was contacted by the county executive. He told me what he was planning, and I jumped at the opportunity to be a part of it. We're joined with River Edge and Ordell in the county to get the ball rolling, to really go after Suez and kind of change business as usual. They've always told us that they're not in the flood mitigation business. So I had said that we have to change that. So part of County Executive Tedesco's demands, basically he had demands today. The first one was to have greater oversight of Suez/Vallejo from the BPU, which is the Board of Public Utilities. It was also to he demanded a meeting with their Northeast CEO and President. And it was to release the critical data from the weeks right before the April 7th, April 8th storm. This way we could see what they did, when they did it, and whether or not they followed procedure. And then within that, the procedure will be criticized, analyzed, and see if it needs to change. Right before this meeting, I got a call from his office, and one of the three things is going to happen. On Thursday at 10 a.m., I'm invited to a meeting at Bergen County Plaza to meet with the CEO of Suez and the county executive. So they saw the press conference, and they have reached out, and we are going to have a meeting on Thursday. So that's where we are with that. I know we're going to have some people to talk, but when we get to the public, then I'll invite all of you to come up, and you can say whatever you want. Is there anything else? Okay. Can I get a motion to open to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Anyone from the public, you're welcome to come to the podium. Just give us your name and your address, and we'll give you 5 minutes. Okay, this way we can get you on the recorder.
Good evening. My name is Heather Gomez, and I live on 646 Columbia Street. I thank you for all your remarks. I hope there's more action than words. I'm just going to read what I wrote because it's better to stay on script, and I kind of address some of the things. So, first, I can express how disappointed and frustrated I am. A rainstorm should not flood our streets or our homes. 2 floods in 7 months. There should be a procedure in place, but nothing is done. Where is the oversight for that flooding? You know, and I'll bring back, I don't know if you guys were there during Sandy, Governor Christie went on television, threatened, the water company, whoever else, and we didn't flood. We get a rainstorm, and we're getting flooding again. I mean, there's no oversight, and there's nothing stopping this from happening again. I did watch the Bergen County Executive Tedesco, and he outlined what he planned to do, including a meeting with Suez. My question to all of you is, what have you done so far, and what do you plan on doing? Mayor Pacino, you also posted the day after the storm that you spoke to Governor Murphy and how he was deeply concerned. But what will both of you be doing to prevent this moving forward? Are you going to make this a local, state, and federal issue, not just, local here? Will there be any liability and accountability? At this point, some have no choice but to move out of New Milford or take a low buyout from Blue Acres program. Can you advocate for a better buyout or other solutions to keep people in New Milford? If you need people from the public, I'm more than welcome to volunteer my time to attend these meetings, to speak up and advocate for everyone who was a victim of these flood victims in the last 7 months or even the last 10 years.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's any questions in there, but I can say is we've already have reached out to surrounding municipalities and the county, so that's where we are starting. A conversation with Governor Murphy, I told him that we are a part of the Blue Acre program, but we already have 34 houses that are gone in New Milford. I wanted him to put me in touch with whoever's in charge with the new program that's coming out, where they will give money for people to raise houses. So that may be an option in the future, like they've done down the shore where they put them on the stilts. This way the property is still there because we have people that do not want to move out of town. And I would like to see houses raised rather than houses destroyed and gone. So there's a new program coming out through Blue Acres next month, and we are going to be in the initial discussions with it. And thank you.
Thank you for having us. My name is John Perez, and I'm 579 Columbia Street.
Can I just ask you to spell your name, please?
Jonan. Last name is Paredes.
And your address one more time?
579 Columbia.
Thank you.
Not as prepared as she was. I don't have the same written letter. I wish I did. But I have a simple analogy that just seems to make sense to me, and I cannot understand why I keep getting a different answer. If I have a cup of water from a water fountain and I don't fill it to the brim, because I know it's going to spill, when I took the very next step. The day of that flood, the reservoir was operating at max capacity, 23.16. They were there. Of course they were going to flood with just 3 inches of rain. Why is that allowed? Why is that okay? We know the water's coming. Let a little bit out, slowly control, because you're going to get replenished. They dumped the water. They just dumped it late. We saw it. We saw the current. Why? If it's going to get released anyway, why not do it in a way that protects everything? I know those aren't questions that you can answer, but I certainly hope that you can push to get answers, or at least push. And she mentioned that Christie's mandate, it worked. They said it got revoked because they were concerned of drought. Well, there was no drought. So maybe it shouldn't have been revoked. For years, huh? That's historically, we know that this is the season where we're going to get rain. We don't have an issue with that. Let's be prepared for it. Ida was, luck of the draw. We understood everything got overwhelmed. Okay, let's get together. We'll rebuild. But this was ridiculous. Are we going to get another 3 of these this month? Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. And those are the answers that we want to find out. And as I mentioned, we're asking them to release every single thing that they did with the days leading up. So we could see when they released, how much they released. If they did, we know they did. We want a record of it.
We know they released a whole lot immediately afterwards because we saw the current on our stream.
A number of years ago, the head of Suez appeared here at a meeting that we had. I think Councilwoman Duffy was here as well. And we really held their feet to the fire at the time, but, they're very smooth characters, and their two positions were, we're not in the business of mitigating floods, and it could be a draft tomorrow. They were immovable at the time, but now that the management meet with them, they agreed to meet with the mayor and Howard County Executive and a few others, and hopefully they'll be able to do something. I agree with you, we shouldn't have a big flood.
If I could just add, Fulton, to your point, and to Ms. Gomez, to your question earlier, something the mayor, to supplement what the mayor had said, Congressman Gottheimer's office has also offered New Milford support. So the support is being offered not just from local officials, it's being offered by officials at every level of government, including at the federal and the national level. We agree with everything that you're saying, which is why we're taking this very seriously, and we want answers and we want solutions to the extent possible.
Thank you.
We're looking to build a coalition to do this. Federal, state, county level.
And the thing that the mayor said earlier, I think, is the key. It's the oversight by the
The oversight.
DPU, because unfortunately, it's not in our hands, but we can only put the pressure on to try and make that happen.
And I'll just mention that even before we were having that press conference and county executive wanted to have them release all the critical information, our borough already sent an open request for that information before Tedesco even approached us. So that's information that we wanted to know right away. And I will mention that on that day, we did not get any notification that they were releasing water or that the banks would overflow.
I'll add, every time that I ask, it seems like I get a response that passes the buck on to someone else. And they say, okay, well, it's the reservoirs in New York, they're getting water, and the water is eventually reaching us, and it's staying right over ours and going down.
Yeah.
Well, that too is something that can be planned for. No one's saying operate at half capacity.
Right.
But don't operate at max either. There's no buffer.
There
We
is.
drive and we give ourselves a buffer because things happen. So why is there a buffer there where the impact can be so low?
There is a way to do this. It's about bringing them to the table and figuring out there is a way to do this. Because you're exactly right. And Japan to Rivervale to Woodbrook Lake to Oregon.
Mayor, I just want to say that there is definitely a sense of urgency, especially in the county executive's voice today. This is urgent because of what you said. it could happen in 2 weeks. We can't wait. And
It could happen this weekend.
that's right. And those of us that have been here quite some time, we're not buying their line of, you know what, anymore. We're not, our residents do not deserve that. So just know that this governing body and this mayor are committed to build that coalition, and we now are going to gain momentum. It's on the news, it's in the county, our assembly people are there, they know it's their job. So we're gonna make everybody involved, responsible. So just know that, and keep coming to meetings. We wanna hear from them.
And as she said,
Yeah,
you know,
we wanna
my
hear
wife
from
over
them.
there, we are also available in any way and any capacity that's necessary to help with that.
Good,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
And again, we appreciate all of you coming out. We appreciate you coming to our meetings and being part of our team. We want to work together to find a solution.
How many here are actually from Columbia Street? Raise your hand.
Oh my goodness.
What street? In the back? Yeah, what street? Harvard Street, Holland, Washington Pine?
No, we were at Henry's. We were at our business.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Nelson Levy, E-L-S-A-M.
BELSAN?
H-A-V-I-D, 595 Columbia Street. Just, and again, I'm not as prepared. I really just wanted to have so many questions, but to give you guys ammunition, because you are going to put it back for us, which I really hope you guys do. I moved here like 11 years ago. When they sold us the house, they told us you're in a flood zone, but it's a 100-year flood zone. So what's that? 1 in 100 chance that you're gonna get flooded. Our first year we got flooded. 10 years later, years pass by, you build that comfort again, you start redecorating, you do your basement up again, you make improvements in the home, and then we get clobbered again. And thankfully, you guys set up in the VFW hall, took care of us really well. But did that really, it could have been avoided, I guess, right? I mean, that was a freak storm. Everything that happened. We were very happy that you guys were there for us. But the first thing out of my wife's mouth is we need to get that out of here, right? We worked really hard in our lives to buy our first home. This is a perfect home for us, size-wise, backyard, neighborhood, even the spaces between our homes and even all of our neighbors. We have 2 dogs that have a perfect backyard. But now, we question why are we doing this to ourselves? Why? Most people, when it rains, they hear the raindrops on their window and they hope to fall asleep. When it rains, we are completely paranoid. And it's just unfair. Right? Especially when
That's the perfect way to put it. That's the perfect way to put it.
and especially when you know this could be avoided. There's a website, the USGS website, that I monitor vigilantly. Right? We all know that a 23.16 is the spillway. It's been at 23 feet since the last flood. You can go back week by week, month by month, and they just keep it at the brim. For what reason, I don't know. Right? Like what Joni mentioned, a buffer. Right? If it's 23 feet, is where it should be. Let's leave it at 22, so we can prepare for the worst if New York comes on us, or everything goes downhill. Right? You can't just leave it for the last minute. Property value, just people moving out, it's just terrible. And then when you look, and then there's houses being knocked down, and it's like a barren land, and it's not what we were sold, what we wanted. It wasn't our American dream. I'm just really hoping that you guys use the factual information. It's there, right? And just to go back for us, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to tell you that I am the only council member who property floods. I live on the Hirschfeld Brook, and so I do know what you're talking about. It has cost me money over the years. I've lost property over the years to erosion, and so I do know that although I've never had to leave my home, and you're absolutely right about the rain. When you feel the rain at night, it's not the nice, lovely sound to fall asleep to. You know, I actually put my hand under the pillow. I won't hear it. I want to know where I actually have to know. I totally understand. So I understand.
Beatrice, and your last?
And it's start with R-E-S-T-R-E-P.
R-E-S-T-R-E-P. Okay, and your address?
160 Henry's our business, and the 695 Aspen.
Beatrice has the best coffee in.
160 Henley, and your home address is?
695 Aspen.
695 Asbury, okay.
I also want to beg all of you to please do something about it, because as you know, in September, we completely lost everything in our business. We're still trying to recuperate, and now with this, I'm sorry, I get very emotional. With this storm, we almost got the same thing. It was only a foot close to where the pump was not working. We drove down to Henley to our business, and we see the whole flood and the police barrier. We just said, we're going to have to close shop. The SBA won't give us a loan. FEMA doesn't do it for our businesses. So when we rented there a year and a half ago, they said, oh, you don't need flood insurance because this is not flood zone. So we believed them. And here we are. A few months after we opened, we got flooded. We bought so many equipment. We do all of our baking in the basement. We have refrigerators, freezers, inventory. It's very devastating. I don't understand the whole thing of who opens the dam, who lets the water out, but like, don't they know why are they allowed to do this? And is it Suez? Is it the towns that open it?
No, it's Suez.
It's Suez.
They control the dam. It's not the towns
It's
around.
not the town.
No.
Well, is there a class action suit that we could do? I know somebody mentioned it on their Facebook page. Somebody said maybe a class action against Suez might be the answer, and they'll wake up with that, because so many people, I feel sorry for them, they live there. Ours is a business.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as bad, because it's horrible to wake up and cars are all underwater, and it's just not fair. Something has to be done.
Agreed.
So I really would appreciate, I know all of you, and I would also be help in any way, volunteer. We are also here to help. And I wanted to say something else, and it's about ordinances. I don't know how to go about changing an ordinance, because I noticed all night there was a lot of that. So there's an ordinance that we cannot put up a sign in the corner by Joe's Liquor Store. A lot of people don't even know we exist. We've done a lot of publicity, we try to apply, but there's just so much budget that we don't have. We put up a temporary banner in the corner last weekend. There was a lot of people that came in that said, I didn't know you were here, because we're behind Joe's Liquor and they don't see us, unless they're passing on River Road. We asked Damiano Pascali, he's the owner of Joe's Liquor Store. And Joe, the owner of the liquor store, said they don't have a problem if we put up a sign. That Street Cafe had a sign there. They were allowed. And so was the copier. It's still there, the New Jersey copier thing that even says parking in the back.
Yeah, North Jersey copy.
Right. Those signs were there. And when I went up to the zoning to Vince, he said, no, it's ordinance and you can't put up a sign. The people are not, they don't even know we exist. So how can we change the ordinance when we are allowed to put 2 signs on Joe's building. How do we go about that?
You're bringing it up right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, okay.
So I'm familiar with the mayor, if I could just.
Sure.
I did speak to Vince about the issue. That sign that had multiple signs on it at one time was never compliant with the sign ordinance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he answered me saying that he asked them to take it down, but that was for 5 years, and he was still there. So they got people in there for 5 years.
It was brought to his attention this week that it's still not compliant. You're not attempting to give somebody a hard time. We're just trying to make sure everybody is compliant with the sign ordinance. But you certainly, the governing body is aware of it, and we can look into it and see what the recommendation is. Anything that the borough would need to do would have to go to the planning board for comment in any event. So it's not that the borough can just unilaterally say, we're going to change it tonight. There is a process involved.
I was gonna say, I mean, the sign ordinance was drafted and approved by the planning board.
It can either come from the governing body, and then it has to go to the planning board for approval, or it can come from the planning board itself. Because of other issues historically in town, not with regard, and it predates your business. I wish you the best with your business, but the planning board carefully drafted this proposed iteration, this version of the sign ordinance, and that's why it's in place. And Vince is one person trying to get compliance all over the borough. So he's not looking to pick on anybody in particular. He's just trying to enforce it equally. But the complaint reached his ears that it's still not compliant this week. So they're not singling you out, and you're saying, well, that's still in conflict. It's being corrected. It doesn't help you, but we can certainly discuss the issue and just see what the reason was behind it and report back to the
It
government.
doesn't make sense. I mean, we're hidden. Nobody knows where we are. Can there be like an exception in that
Well,
ordinance?
the difficulty you have is you're seeking to advertise. That's what a sign does. It advertises from a legal perspective. And you're advertising your business on another property. Even though it may be the same owner, there are different entities that own the properties, and that's where it becomes a problem.
We share the same parking lot.
No, I understand. I've gone through your story.
I don't know why can't this be an exception?
Part of it is because there's different entities, even though Damiano owns it, maybe one LLC or another LLC, and that makes it as if it's different people. And you're not permitted to advertise for something that's not on your site. That's part of the problem. At one time, there may have been common ownership, but I don't know how it evolved. But at this point, the best we could do is look into it.
And it's appreciated. If we decide to go all of that happened with the flood, and may possibly happen again, how are we surviving?
And with regard to the issue, someone mentioned the class action. That's not something that the borough would or can do. The residents can do that. There was a class action probably 20 years ago, the first time this happened. And the difficulty is there's immunities for dam operators because they have to provide water to everybody. And that's what they default to. But if they're not doing it appropriately, where's the redress? And that's why the governing body strategy is using multiple agencies to do it, such as the county executive, such as the representatives in the state legislature, and this governing body would push it. That's, quite frankly, why the governing body jumped right on this, because it's not just in Milford. There's River Edge was there, Oradell was there. They all lost not only equipment, but people were flooded out. And it goes downriver. Lodi gets hammered every time we get hammered, although they were spared this time. So I think that's why the county executives finally stood up and is indicating, speaking on behalf of the entire county, it's a different story at this point. And that was the goal of the governing body, to try to create enough movement from multiple agencies that they will come up with a solution. So it's not just being ignored.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Torres, and I'm pretty sure it's H-A-R-O-L-Y-N. My last name is Paredes, P-A-R-E-D-S.
Your address?
579 Columbia Street. So I start by asking, how many of you have experience of like besides grant, councilwoman grant? How many of you? You have?
A basement.
You will have, right? You're just a basement, right? Okay. Pretty typical. Any basement anywhere can get flooded. But we have flooded many, many times. Not just our basement, not just the stuff that we store, not just forgotten toys of our kids, but our actual home living space. So I ask, what is New Milford Borough position with the Blue Acres program for the Columbia Street? Are you in support of this program?
Yeah, we're in it.
No. Are you supporting that it should buy out all the houses on Columbia?
Yes, we've been a supporter and a participant in the program for years.
So you agree that every house in Columbia should be bought out by the Blue Acres program?
Not unless it's raised on stilts.
Okay.
Just so we can clarify, the borough participates in the program
Right.
to give the residents that option.
Okay.
The borough is not looking to have people's houses taken away from them because of this. The borough participates in the program so that if someone makes that determination that they would like to avail themselves of the program, they can do it.
Okay.
That's the full extent of the support.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So if the program is to remove some of the houses, and you're also in support of lifting some of the houses, how come I haven't seen that one home lifted? Like, what program exists to leave
The
those
legislation just was changed to deal with that recently. I believe it was in the last.
FEMA has a program right now, Swift Current Initiative.
Yeah.
It's a program where certain houses qualify.
I came to that one,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
But that was back in September, and we haven't heard anything.
There's a Blue Acres program for lifting homes coming next month. It's going to be called Blue Acres 3.0.
So if we know the impact of removing these homes from your neighborhood, right? Not just the homes and the property and what the people are experiencing, but financially what it does to the town, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then why are we pushing for these homes to be lifted and raised? Instead, we are only supporting the Blue Acre programs to remove these homes.
It's not that we only support those programs. Those were the programs that were made available to us. And those were the programs that we worked with in order to try and move as many people out of harm's way as possible. But
if they wanted to.
If they wanted to.
No.
Right. Please understand that my approach is not to you, right? I'm just asking questions so that I can kind of figure out where I'm standing, right? Like my position or my feeling, right? This is all building things, right? Emotions, right? You went through something like this, and you go again, your feelings not even dry, and here we go, right? Not to mention the fact that our homes may not be insured because insurances are dropping coverage because there were 2 floods back to back. I got a quote today for $8,000 or $11,000 for flood insurance. Is any of you guys going to pay for this? Is the Ed going to pay for this? You know what's going to happen? I'm going to be pushed out of my home because who's going to pay $8,000 or $11,000? That's not even the amount of taxes we pay for homes here in some areas. So we're not doing anything, right? We're talking about it. I understand and I appreciate your concerns and your sentiment on this. But September 11 came and it just went plateau. I haven't heard anything else said. So I ask you, when was the last time that on this board, whether it was person here or through headphones, through video calls, through conference, did you speak about flooding and what we're doing for the community? If I look back at those meetings, because I have not, and I'm just going to say this, probably going to try to invite me, we can say that probably for the last 3 months we haven't talked about it. So what awareness are we bringing to the community? Have we hold a meeting to the community, to the people in Colombia and said, people, this is the options you have. If you want to stay, then that's your choice. I've chosen to stay, just like you shared, because it's a beautiful area. It's a beautiful community. I can leave my door unlocked and no one nobody's can come in. That my kids can play outside, and that's going to be okay. So when I'm looking through all of this and I'm thinking, yes, thank you for your old comments. I appreciate it. Thank you for your prayers. But that doesn't do anything because none of you guys are going to pay for my insurance. None of you guys are going to live my home. So what exactly are we doing here? Yeah, we can go on a meeting, 25 meeting about permits, lights, music, food, one day celebration. So what? I repeat, I respect all of that. But what are we doing for the community of New Milford? Because when I look at the map and the area that's been covered by water, it's not going to stop in Colombia. And I'm not an environmentalist, an environmentalistic person, right? Now, what's going to be another street and then another street because the greens are just getting bigger and bigger, more water has space to run, right? So the environmental councilwoman sent a note, and she said she was requesting funding so they can investigate further, right? Why haven't we done that before? And if she has, what has she come up with? I like to see that before. Because everything we're collecting is a movement, so we can put it together. If not, this is going to be another conversation. We talk about it today. We're going to be sunny for the next year. Everything is forgotten. Laughs, barbecues, all fun. Come next year again, come September again, here comes the rain. Oh, let's talk about it again. Let's put it back on the agenda. So, to end this, I don't really have questions besides what I've expressed. But what is the board doing? And thank you for attending that meeting today. Hopefully we're getting somewhere. But what are we going to do?
The goal is to get, to stop it at the source. To get Suez to change their policy so we do not experience chronic and repeat flooding.
And to say to you, Mayor, like when we talk about it here, it sounds like it's a new topic, right? Like this is something new, right? Like this is COVID, right? No. I know you're shaking your head like no, but when we talk about it, it's like we're approaching them, right? But New Milford has been in the flood zone for so long, but when the answers we get is like if it's a new topic. You understand what I mean? I'm not saying that it's a new topic. It's like we haven't gotten past Suez says we're not in the mitigation program. You understand? That's what I'm saying. It just stops there. You know, so we bring it up and we'll bring it up again. Look, I'm just here to share my concerns, my feelings, and my position on this. And I'm not going to stay quiet. I don't have the funds to have an attorney, an environmental person to investigate, to read graphs, and look up data for days and days. I'm a full working woman. We don't deserve this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon Toner, 563 Columbia Street. I'm probably all cringing, wondering what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say? So, as you all know, I've been here from day one. This is my 6th flood. We tried to sue Suez twice, and with 2 different attorneys, and twice it never panned out. It was always stopped. Just can't do it. You can't get it done. Back when, I know you're going to cringe when I say this, when Christie was in office, there was a time when they were supposed to release water, and they wouldn't. And Christie called them and said, release the water, or we're going to come after you big time and get on. And they released it. Then I also thought that there was some law where Suez had to release a certain number of gallons a day, which I don't know if it's still in place or not. But my suggestion is to get Governor Murphy involved and ask him to help us. Or put a law in place that regulates them. And then they have to abide by it. And if they don't, they get fined. The other part is, I don't know why FEMA isn't going after them. Because every time they flood us out, The government's paying out the money. The government's losing money. So why don't they go after them? And that's my suggestion. That wasn't a bad, was it? So that's all I have to say. If we can get Governor Murphy, Congressman, the Senate, everyone that's on our side, I'm going to spoken to. We're working on it.
Yeah, the goal is to get as many as possible,
Yeah.
everyone.
But
And really put pressure on them from all angles.
Exactly. If we put regulations.
And I think that's something that has lacked in the past, which is why
Exactly.
it looks like it's a new topic, but it's not.
No, this has been going on since 1999.
This particular stone seemed to be a little different from some of the others, though. So you knew Ida was coming, you knew Sandy was coming. This one, you didn't know was coming, and it wasn't a major event. And so this
was a
probably
rainstorm.
could have been prevented or mitigated, certainly. And that's what I think finally got everybody's attention up above us, because we've been aware of it pushing for a long time. And now others are finally
Exactly.
aware.
And even Ronnie Quinn, who I love on Channel 2, said the flooding should never happen. The amount of rain that we had wouldn't cause that type of thing. I was standing outside with the mayor that morning, and after high tide left, the water just kept rising up. We were all sitting there like, we knew what they did. They opened the gates.
Well, maybe this terrible PR for the Suez and Georgia program.
I sure hope so. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor? I just would like to point out for those who are not aware, and thank you for all of your fantastic remarks. And for those who are not aware, know for a fact, Ms. Beretta has been a community leader on this issue in particular since at least Ida last September. And so I want to thank you for your leadership, and I want to thank you for coming out here and for everything that you had to say. We're much stronger as one community than we are divided. So to answer your question, what can change? If we're united, I don't believe anything can stop us. You want answers. You deserve answers. So do we. You want solutions. You deserve solutions. So do we. And I would something that stays in my memory from Hurricane Ida was seeing a couple of our volunteer firefighters, who again, I emphasize volunteer, so they're doing this, risking their own lives, trying to calm a young girl. They had pulled into a boat from one of the homes, and it was such a touching thing to see. And the passion, the heart that was there was incredible. Our first responders do more than just try to help. They share our passion for answers and solutions. And the reason I mention that little anecdote is to point out that events like this, which are candidly unacceptable and should not happen, events like these bring communities together at every level, from residents to first responders to government officials in the municipality, all the way to Congress. Let's work together. Let's get this done, and let's find answers and solutions. And thank you for coming out.
Did anyone here not get a Red Cross cleaning kit? If not, we brought some to the back of the room. If anyone needs another one, just take it.
If I may, I didn't get a chance to thank all the first responders, all the community workers. They did a great job both times, or any time that I've had this experience. And just, if there's a question, they have to get overtime pay, right? Who paid those guys?
Or volunteers.
No.
Yeah. Oh, the police, yeah.
The fuel that, when the trucks are running, the boats, from both sides, River Ridge and Milford, it's not free, right? It costs everyone. It costs every single person. And when I watch the news as well, and nothing against River Ridge, but the River Ridge fire chief said, the residents are used to this kind of stuff. And that was a real kick in the teeth. No matter if there was an inch of water or 4 feet of water, it's devastating. When you have to leave work, you're trapped in your home, whether you lose electricity, you hemorrhage money one way or another. Whether you get some of it back for your insurance or not, it's a difficult time. Again, especially, I cross that bridge every month to go to work. I come back and I look and I see it's just a pile of mud, right? There's no water flowing through it. Month after month, there's no, why is it ever why do they ever let it get that low? It should be at a steady state with water flowing all the time as they're releasing water on a regular basis, on a time basis. But, again, I just wanted to thank everyone and we don't want to take the sitting down or laying down, as it was in the past. And I was really happy that, the news crews were around. Some of us got on TV and we said our piece and we're gaining traction. And I hope it gets to the highest level and really fines, penalties, something. Please.
I also want to thank the council and the mayor for coming out, spending the Saturday walking around the neighborhood, delivering the kits and water.
All hours of the night.
Well, at the press conference today, I actually called out the president of Viola, and I told him he can contact me anytime. I told him I would bring them down, show them the damage they caused, and I told them I would actually introduce them to some of my residents to hear the story. So if I knock on your door one day and I have the suit next to me, that's who he is. We'll see if he reaches out. But this is what they need to understand. We understand. This is what they need to understand. And that's what I tried to reiterate today.
They need to understand and they need to care.
Yes.
We just hope it doesn't fizzle out, She mentioned,
Right.
We're all going over right now, and then we had 6 months of sunny weather, and everything's great, and everyone's happy, and the houses are fixed already, and we're moving on, and we're enjoying the summer, all we're doing, and even into the winter, into the fall, spring, into the next year, and 3-4 years, it's good, it's fixed, and it fizzles out, and it happens again all back here. And 10 years ago, I was here. I said my piece 10 years ago. And here we are then. Nothing against you guys, but I have better things to do. I could be with my wife, you could be watching some TV, I have my dog on my lap, and getting ready for my next for work tomorrow.
Agreed. And, I think I speak for everyone, nothing hurts us more than when we see dumpsters on the street, your entire houses out on the curb, garbage stuck in the woods, floating, our DPW underwater, our ball fields underwater, helicopters flying over New Milford. None of us want to see that, and we want to work to stop that.
We don't want the free part either.
No.
Poor guys down,
Right.
people in Columbia.
Right.
If I can, it's important to say. As a resident of Columbia, who's a realtor, that's what I do, right? I see the signs go up. And my wife says to me, why aren't you listing these homes? I say to her, I can't. How can I put somebody in this position when I know what could happen? They're going to stay out of the White House. It can be addressed. It needs to. I know my solution is simplistic, but sometimes a simple solution is the right solution. A lot of times, a simple solution is the right solution. I'm overlooked. It's create a buffer. Like I said, Ida, okay, but this one just.
Right. Should not have happened.
You get any of your friends that call you up, why the heck are you still living there? What's wrong with you? Why do you do this to yourself? You gotta sue somebody. Everyone's got an answer. Right? Oh, the sewer prices are small. Oh, the sewers were built in the 50s and they're not today's standards. No, it wasn't the sewer because it wasn't standing water, right? It was salt water, But, it's adding insult to injury, right? You're sitting there, you're down, you're getting kicked, and then someone, what's wrong with you, right? It's not that easy just to sell your house and find something. politically, so someday you put, tens of thousands of dollars to make your people, the home that you want, that you call your home. We've been in that home for over 10 years, and, when we redid our driveway, I did the whole sidewalk from my house, which I didn't have to do, but I wanted my house to look nice. I wanted when people come around the corner, they see the nice house on Columbia Street, the entrance to Columbia, and then they see this is a nice part of Bergen County. I grew up in Bergen County, I lived in Fort Lee majority of my life, I lived in Edgewater for a good part of my life. Well, my first home here. Far enough away from where I was, but not too far.
Right.
Close enough to everything, malls, my job was 11 miles away. My wife, pre-pandemic, worked in the city, walking to the train station. Mileage on her car was really low, so that's a bonus, right? She just drives her car to the nail salon and the hair salon, right? She's a supermarket, right?
I'm not saying anything about that.
Right. What better than that?
Right.
There were so many things that when we went looking for that house, it checked all the boxes. It fit our budget, attached garage, central air conditioning, like, this is the gold mine, the train station's right there. And then the first year, we'll see the world outside. It's crazy.
We are committed to help. We are going to do whatever it takes to help.
Thank you.
And it's going after Suez.
I just want to give you guys as much ammunition as possible.
Once they're fine, when you hurt their pockets, then they'll stop.
Accountability, right?
There you go.
Stop being a little.
I just got mine yesterday.
They always talk about it. Right after that, I open the mailbox.
Anyone else want to come up to the podium before I close to the public?
Anyone want to address any questions that were posed as far as data regarding what was targeted?
Okay.
Okay, are you going to close to the public first?
Yeah, let me close to the public first. After we close to the public, after Councilwoman Sandhusen speaks, we're going to vote on the resolutions, and then we're going to go into close. When we come out of close, we're going to adjourn. No further action will be taken. So when we go into close, that's when the meeting is over for the public. Motion to close to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Councilwoman Sandhusen.
Mr. President, I really appreciate your questions about what is how does data support and affect and make our community better, and why haven't we gotten this data previously? And those are real questions, and those are questions that inspire me and motivate me in my work. So, because when I see a community that is constantly responding to crisis, as everyone has pointed out, it costs a lot of money. To get the data and to make the data will help the community make proactive efforts. Unfortunately, or fortunately, our municipality is very fiscally responsible. And getting data takes time and money and consideration from a lot of a variety of agencies. And that's why the Environmental and Energy Commission has applied for a $20,000 grant to go to this year. We are really hoping to receive this grant because this environmental resource inventory is far overdue. What this does is it creates a foundational document that the municipality of New Milford can bring to developers, to Suez, to advocate for the community. Unfortunately, there's no one specific answer. What this data will do is give us opportunity to explore a variety of possibilities. We have one problem, which is the dam, that can be addressed in some of the ways that were already suggested. Then there are other ways that can help mitigate the flooding and also bring some back some beauty and reforestation of the wetlands and to beautify the community. So those are some things that can be possibilities So we need to have some data and research, and that's why we need help with funding for that from the state, from the county, because it's a big financial burden, and it's a burden of time as well to collect it. So that's something that is overdue, and the Environmental Commission is working very hard to do that. So I understand that it's not satisfactory because it's going to take some time, but the intention for the Environmental Commission is to also involve the stakeholders, all stakeholders, that's including the residents, and at such time, you all will be informed. The commission meets on Tuesdays, the first Tuesday of the month, and members of the public are welcome to come and listen, because the conversation about flooding and water mitigation, stormwater mitigation is happening and in consideration in every discussion and consideration in those meetings. So you may not hear it often up here in the public, but it is being discussed in the committees. Thank you.
Resolutions. Could I get a consent on 2022:115 through 2022:222, 224, 225? I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 2022:223. May I get a motion?
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman San Houston.
Abstain?
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley. Council President Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Grodzki.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Councilwoman Graham.
Well, I'm not necessarily against the proposal in here. I find that the resolution itself is too big for me, and therefore I can't support it. It's getting extracted, so I would say.
Is there any other business before this council? If not, I would ask for a motion to go into closed session.
Motion.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming and giving us your time. Like I said, extra buckets if anyone needs it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Your address again? Your address, just
579 Columbia.
got it. You're welcome.